FXNation, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And in this video guys, what I wanted to do was I wanted to share with you the fact that not all trade setups are created equal. I know there's going to be some times when you have multiple choices of pairs to trade and they all seem like very similar trade setups. How do you pick the right one? I'm going to show you in this video. So without further ado guys, let's get this started. Alright guys, so here's the setup that I wanted to show you. This happened yesterday during the US session. Now, as far as the setup on pound USD that we were looking at for during the US setup was essentially a continuation trade. Alright, what is a continuation trade? Just very simply, a continuation trade is when you have a massive move in London or a retracement between London and New York session that ends up basically giving a retracement that is at the very beginning of the US session. So essentially it would look something like this: a big move in London with a retracement and then an extended move to go higher like this. Okay, that's a continuation trade. Very simple. Now what I want you guys to notice is the differences between this continuation trade on GU versus the continuation trade on EU. So check out the difference in the two. Now the trade that was taken, that I took, was on EU, not GU. Here's why. For me, when I talk about continuation trades or when I take continuation trades, what I want to see is I want to see this big move in London, but I want to see the pullback. I want the deep pullback to happen. And ideally, in the perfect scenario for me for this trade setup, is when you have a pullback that comes back to the 50 EMA and then gives you a pattern to trade off of it. So a pattern meaning like railroad track, star pattern, quarter wood, something of that nature, or even possibly like an M or W pattern to trade. But most likely it's going to be either a star pattern, quarter wood, or railroad tracks. So in this case here, we could see the deep pullback that we had on Euro USD, and we ended up getting a nice set of railroad tracks right at the beginning of the US session. So we got the big pullback that I wanted, but then also it's pinning to the 800 and it's pinning to the 50 EMA. If we look at the TDI, it's also bouncing off the 50. So we have all of these conformations coming together, and then in the bigger picture, we're coming off of peak formation low, so we're looking for buys anyways, right? So everything is coming together, and everything did come together in this particular trade for this specific type of setup. Now, if we go back to GU, we look at GU's trade, we got the big push during London, but we did not get the big deep pullback that we got on Euro USD. So because of that, I was very hesitant to not take this particular trade setup, because I would have preferred if this had a pullback to the 50 here or to the 800 down here and then gave us this pattern, because that was a good pattern. It was a good star pattern that it gave us. But ultimately, the biggest problem that I had with it was the fact that you did not get a deep pullback. And for me specifically, taking a continuation trade, I want to see that deep pullback because it gives me more confidence when I'm taking the trade. So if you took this trade, you would have, won the trade, and that's great. But for me, and if you compare this as well, by the way, look at the TDI as well. It's well above the 50. it's nowhere near the 50 here as well. So again, not everything is lining up with what I'm looking for as forms of confirmation and essentially to give you the confidence to take that trade that trade is going to play out. Okay, so know the differences, guys, when you're looking at different pairs that are doing very similar setups. Okay, know the differences, because there are some pairs that may have, there could be 5 or 6 pairs that are doing very similar moves, but at the end of the day, once everything is said and done, all those moves may not be the same. Okay, another example that I could give you is literally the JPY pairs. This actually happened during our live sessions. So last week, Thursday, we were looking at multiple JPY pairs that were doing damn near identical moves. And so it was AUD JPY right here, NZD JPY right here, pound JPY right here, and euro JPY right here. So they were all doing very similar moves. Again, we were looking for continuation trades in the US session. This was in the US session. Okay, this was in the US session. You could see the big move during London, and then the deep pullback. Now, as you can see, all of these pairs did a deep pullback, but not all of them were exactly the same. So again, if you look at pound JPY, it did a deep pullback, but look what ended up happening. This would ended up being a loss, right? But the rest of them, like AUD JPY, ended up being a win. NZD JPY ended up being a win. And Euro JPY ended up being a win, right? So just because they all look the same doesn't mean that they're all going to do the same thing. You have to start to really look and analyze as to what it is that you want for your specific setup for them to work. Okay, so if we look at like AUD JPY, this one had a nice deep pullback, pinning to the 200 EMA, railroad track with a pullback after a huge move during Asia and London session. All right, that gave you a good continuation trade here. If you look at NZD JPY, same thing, huge move during Asia and London, pulled back all the way to the middle. Now notice how you did not have any pinning to the 200 EMA or anything like that. You did have a good pattern here, a good W pattern actually, right here on the TDI as well for confirmation. I believe you had that also. You had that also here as well on the TDI on AUD JPY. But if you look, pound JPY had very similar moves. It just did not go in that direction. Okay, but all the rest did. All the rest did. All right, so please pay attention when you're looking at trade setups, when you're looking at multiple pairs. Start to think about what are the main things that you need to have in your trade setup every time that you take a trade. So if you're looking for a type 1, type 2, 3, whatever setup that you're looking for, have those guidelines written on paper next to you so you could know exactly what things are you willing to accept for a setup versus what things you're not willing to accept for a setup, so you can skip over some of the pairs that may not suit your particular setup. Primarily what I was talking about would be with GU and Euro USD, like I showed you. All right, so just a quick video, guys, to give you some extra knowledge as to what the differences is when I look for different setups. I'm not looking to get into a hurry into a trade. I'm looking to see, are there any possible trade setups that day or that session? If they're not if I don't see anything developing, then I just don't trade. Okay, there is nothing about me that's going to force me to take a trade. All right, there's way too many things that could happen when you make up a trade because you're unwilling to wait out a trade setup, or you're just not willing to accept the fact that today may not be the day that a setup comes. All right, so hopefully this was helpful to you guys and you guys got value from this video. Guys, thank you so much and have a great rest of your trading week. Trade safe and trade consistently. Guys, if you need any more help, join us on FXN Plus. It's available right now on fxntrading.com. You'll get a lot of different value from FXN Plus. For example, blueprint videos, 9 sessions, 14 hours long, over 100 hours right now of group session videos from the past 2 years. Over 100 hours we're up to right now on these sessions. You also get weekly sessions every Sunday. Ask as many questions as you want. I actually give a weekly analysis during those sessions, and I also give a midweek analysis that I put up on the website for everyone to see as well. You get access to the MT4 and MT5 indicators that everyone asked for. That's how you get access to them. Private group, trading plan, custom trading journal. I mean, everything you could possibly want is on FXN Plus. Guys, join us there. If you need any more help, we'll be more than happy to help you. We'll see you on FXN Plus.